How does a team rise from one of the worst prospect pools in the entire NHL to one of the two very best over the course of a single season? We're exploring that today as we break down the top prospects of the New York Islanders, highlighted by the recent first overall draft pick, Matthew Schaefer.
You are Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On NHL Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On this show, we break down everything prospects related for you 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I'm your host, Sebastian High, the USA scout over at Elite Prospects. And on today's episode, we'll be breaking down yet another prospect pool in the NHL. We've been doing this series for a little while now with the Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, and San Jose Sharks already under our belts. But today, we are focusing on the New York Islanders, who have a lot to be excited for right now with their very brand new rebuild that they've been, or retool, whatever you want to call it, that they've been kind of constructing here over the past year. And we'll go down the list of the top prospects. First, we're going to look at the big five names at the top of the board. So we'll get the exciting names out of the way immediately. And then we'll explore a little bit more of the depth. In the second segment, we'll look at players ranked 6 through 12 in our rankings. And finally, we'll wrap things up with players ranked 13 through 19. As always, I will link the article of Elite Prospects down below. That is the culmination of all the work from our regional scouts that have put in a whole bunch of hours to really crystallize this big project over the course of the offseason, including overall analyses on over 700 players through all of these rankings. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into these, but we'll be looking at the big five names here to kick things off. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So let's just kick things off right away at number one, because the story of the Islanders even receiving the first overall pick is a very interesting one. They had the 10th best odds of doing so, and they climbed all the way up to the top spot in the draft, and Matthew Schaefer just fell into their laps, and there's so much to love with this player. He's a bar none elite level skater. He moves like few players that I've watched in my time scouting prospects in the last half decade. He's truly a high-end mover, whether it be the fluidity, the agility, but also the explosiveness and power he's able to generate through his lower body. This guy buzzes around the ice and is able to really just suffocate opponents and give them no time or space defensively, and he is able to leverage it offensively as well to just blow past defenses, able to beat them wide, cut to the inside. He's such an adaptable player on his feet, and I think there's so much upside that comes through that mobility. But the overall offensive toolkit is really special with Matthew Schaefer. He has a tremendous shot. He's able to score from distance. He's able to score from closer in, whether it be with a wrist shot, a snap shot, a slap shot. He has the versatility of a goal scorer that you would expect from a sniper on the wing with a top six projection, not with a blue liner. He's able to add even better playmaking ability than his scoring skills, and the handling just supports all of this. He's so smooth in possession, the way that his playmaking, handling, shooting, and skating are able to just blend together into a really cohesive package of a dynamic play-driving defenseman. He's a special talent and the type of player that you want at the top end of your prospect pool. And the New York Islanders have just that. A very exciting time ahead. Now, I am incredibly excited to see what happens with Matthew Schaefer this season. He seems to be a bit too good for the OHL, but could really benefit from a full, entire, healthy season. Of course, he missed the bulk of last year due to a broken collarbone that he suffered at the World Junior Championships, just a game and a bit into his World Junior debut, and he was the best player for Team Canada at that tournament. So very unfortunate to see that happen to him in that setting. But going back to the OHL would be an opportunity to really build a lot of consistency and momentum, especially in terms of offensive confidence, that I think would be really exciting. But he also has all the tools necessary to play an NHL role already. The reason that I'm a bit apprehensive about if I were in control of his development path about sending him to the NHL this season, he's one of the very youngest players that was eligible for this previous draft class. He only turned 18 years old on the 5th of September. The cutoff for the 2026 draft class is the 15th of September, just 10 days later. And he missed so much time last year. He only got into 19 games between the World Juniors and the OHL. And I think that lack of deployment is something that could really, an 82 game schedule with the NHL pace and physicality is an entirely different monster. I'm very curious to see what the Islanders end up doing here, because in terms of tools, he deserves to be in the lineup for the Islanders this season. But if that ends up being the most prudent thing, I'm not sure. So I'm very curious to see. Maybe he gets a 9-game trial and gets sent back to the O after that, but he's going to be fascinating to watch his development continue. We continue our rankings here at number 2 with another 2025 draft selection, this time selected at 16th overall in that trade with the Montreal Canadiens that sent Noah Dobson to the Habs in exchange for picks 16, 17, and third line winger Emil Heineman, who has a really good shot and just very easy to fall in love with as a player. But Victor Eklund is the blue chip piece of the bunch in the return. He's a tremendously dynamic winger. He's constantly working hard. He's incredibly inside driven. He's not big at all, 5'11", 170, but physically, he's just an absolute spark plug. Really difficult to play against professional competition last year in Hockey Allsvenskan with Jürgen and IF. He played a massive role in securing them promotion back to the SHL for this season, scored 19 goals and 31 points in 42 games, and just constantly did it by driving the middle of the ice. He's able to seal body position on the inside. Really, really intense forechecking player. And when he's able to win possession down low in the offensive zone, he's just able to immediately flip the switch into offensive creation. He's a tremendous playmaker. He's a great skater. He's able to blend those abilities as well as his high-end anticipation to just create at a very, very quick pace. And he's just a dagger down low in the offensive zone. I think he has real top 6 upside, given his versatility and his skill on both sides of the puck. He'd be a great player to help insulate a guy like Cole Yzerman down the road. I think a line of we're talking about the next player on the list here as well. Calum Ritchie, Victor Eklund, and Cole Yzerman would be a really nice balance of intelligence, defensive responsibility, playmaking, and goal scoring skill that could really work at the next level. But we'll see as these players continue taking steps towards becoming full-time NHLers. At number 3, we have the aforementioned Calum Ritchie, a 6'2", 190-pound right shot center acquired from the Colorado Avalanche in the Brock Nelson deal. And he's just a really special talent. He's incredibly intelligent. He's a fantastic puck handler and an almost elite level playmaker. It's that combination of skills with really great physicality as well in terms of getting to the middle of the ice, establishing body position, fighting off bigger opponents. He's just made for the modern game. He's not the prettiest skater in the world. He's not the quickest guy on the ice, but he has every single ability, I think, to make it tick in a top 6 role in the NHL someday. I think second line is the projection that I feel most comfortable with at this stage in his development. And while he isn't the most dynamic player at speed off the rush, he has so many abilities that I think could really make him a standout piece here in the Islanders organization and could even be a full-time NHLer as of this season. I think he's good enough to cement himself in that type of role. Then at number 4, we have an incredibly physical defenseman, also drafted this year in the first round at 17th overall, Kashawn Aitcheson. 6'1", 198 pounds, but he's just an absolute freight train. He's got an absolute howitzer of a shot as well. It's just pure power at both ends of the ice, whether you're talking about that scoring ability or the physical end in his own defensive zone. He's going to have to really improve, I think, the skating ability, because right now he can end up chasing hits a little bit, and he just doesn't have that recovery speed or adaptability with his feet to make the ground back up, to get back into position. And that's something that left him chasing the play relatively often last season. And then that aggression is both his biggest strength and biggest weakness as currently constructed, but he has all the tools to be a true number 4 defenseman with a unique toolkit at the NHL level. Speaking of unique toolkits, at number 5, we've got Cole Yzerman, who has one of the best shots outside the NHL today. By our grading scale at Elite Prospects, it's an 8.0 caliber shot. The scale only goes up to 9.0, so to be an 8.0 projection is absolutely wild. It's the same level that we have Matthew Schaefer's skating ability at. Like, Cole Yzerman has a truly game-breaking asset with his scoring, and not just the shot quality itself, but also the goal-scoring habits that support it. There's a lot to like with this player. He's able to pummel his way to the middle of the ice and drive the crease. It's not the most consistent, but he's able to do it. And he scored 25 goals and 36 points in 39 games last season with Boston University in second-line minutes. That scoreline on its own should tell you how special he is as a goal scorer, but the everlasting question with Cole Yzerman is the support game beyond that. Like, what is there beyond just being a really good shot? We've seen really, really good shots not be able to stick it in the NHL. Just look at Daniel Sprong, for instance. With Cole Yzerman, the motor, the intensity, the details, being able to support his teammates off puck at both ends of the ice, make himself available as an outlet when teammates are pressured in possession, be able to be there to like win possession as well in the defensive zone. This all just still needs so much work. Developing the details is going to be the most important part in his development, but there is true top 6 upside with this player. He could hit technically 40 goals in the NHL someday, but the details still need so much refinement. So he's a very divisive prospect because he has both the incredible highs and the crushing lows. There's no player who's frustrated me more to watch in the last 2 seasons than Cole Yzerman, because he has it all. He has it all in terms of putting the puck in the net, but the will to do it, the maturity to do it, the inconsistency behind it has always just been a real drawback with this player. That wraps up this first segment, though. In the next one, we'll break down players ranked 6 through 12. But first, a quick message from our sponsors here at Locked On NHL Prospects. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds, the choice is yours with FanDuel. I'm always partial to same-game parlays to make the action all the more exciting while I'm watching the game that I took my swings on. And I love taking multiple little bets because it just compounds the excitement during the action and just elevates the experience as a whole. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, let's keep this episode rolling in the second segment by breaking down the players that we have ranked 6 through 12 in the New York Islanders system. And we're kicking things off with a very projectable but not overly exciting player at number 6, and that's Danny Nelson. He's a physical, hardworking, good off-puck scoring center who just plays a reliable two-way game. He's been developing at the University of Notre Dame. He scored 26 points in 36 games last season. He's able to dole out some big hits and create subtle contact plays as well, and create inside those contact areas down low in the offensive zone. He has all the hallmarks of a potential 3C down the road with the Islanders. Doesn't have these game-breaking puck skills, but he has a lot of the mature details, a lot of the snarl and the willingness to get involved however necessary. And he's also developed his overall play connecting skill as a passer. The passing was something that I viewed as a weakness in his draft year, but he's really elevated to maybe not a standout strength, but certainly a decent aspect of his toolkit at this stage in his development. And at 6'3", 216 pounds, he is built to be a shutdown center. At number 7, we have an exciting big left shot defenseman in Jesse Pulkkinen, 6'6", 220 pounds. He played both in North America and Europe last season, starting off in Liga with JYP. scoring 3 goals and 8 points in 38 games. And then he moved over to the AHL with the Bridgeport Islanders, where he got into 10 games and contributed a single assist. He's a player that we had massive expectations for last season going into the campaign. And even though his skating is something that needs a whole bunch of work, he's fluid on his edges, but the overall power, agility, and ability to recover are all still real works in progress. So the skating definitely needs a decent amount of work, but the physical basis he has, the heavy shot, the handling skill, the smoothness with which he's able to just like cut through defenses and evade opponents is really impressive. His season did get derailed early, unfortunately, with a knee injury that really did affect the momentum he was able to build last season, but he's still a player that we're very excited for with that physical baseline, that massive frame, the range he has as a defender. He's one of the most intriguing wild card pieces in the entire NHL in terms of prospects, and I'm very excited to see what he's able to do in North America this season. At number 8, we have Luca Romano, who wasn't the flashiest player in his draft year, and he was just drafted this season. But he has an element of just high-end tools that could really make it work in a middle six capacity in the NHL someday. He's a fantastic skater, really speedy, constantly creating gaps between himself and opponents. He's able to really separate himself in puck races, and he has a great shot. So when he's able to combine those two elements off the rush to beat opponents wide with speed, cut inside, and unleash his shot, he's a really dangerous creator. But I think that there's definitely still an element of physicality that he's going to have to build in his game to more effectively be able to cut inside rather than just be kind of kept to the outside. But he's able to win battles along the wall quite well. He's escapable in tight. There's a lot to like with this player, and he can maybe be a play driver on a third line if he really hits with another like 3 or 4 years of development. And if it really works out, he might even do it in his natural center position. At number 9, we have Daniil Prokhorov, a big right shot winger, 6'6", 218 pounds, massively physical guy, one of the most physical players in the entire draft class last season. And the Islanders went out and targeted him in the middle rounds. And his eye for violence, I think, is something that sets him apart in this system. There's definitely no more violent player than Daniil Prokhorov currently in the Islanders pool. But the upside is a little bit limited. He has a good shot, a lot of heaviness behind his shot. Struggles a little bit to get it off in tight. So the projectability that remains to be seen a little bit. And he's certainly limited by his overall anticipation, awareness, and passing skill. That's where really all of his breakdowns came on puck last season. He doesn't have the handling skill either to really solve problems as they arise. But with his physicality, with his shot, and with average level skating, he should have a spot at least on a fourth line role down the line with the New York Islanders, because he does just bring that boundless violence that teams are looking for down the depth chart. At number 10, we have Kamil Bednarik, an intense left shot center who had a decent season last year with Boston University, scoring 19 points in 40 games. And he's a very proactive player. He's constantly putting himself into supportive positions and getting into areas where he could score if he gets the puck and is found by a pass by a teammate. The skating definitely needs work. It's choppy. It lacks overall power in terms of gaining that overall momentum through the first 2 or 3 strides. That definitely needs work. And I think the agility is also a little bit subpar, but he has the overall, I think, mindset in terms of support habits, physical engagement, motor intensity to maybe a fourth line center down the road in the NHL, but the overall upside is quite limited here with Bednarik. At number 11, we have the first goaltender here of the episode with Marcus Gidloff of 6'6", 223 pound netminder, who played in the SHL last season and in 17 games put up a .908 save percentage with Leksand. But more impressively still, he got into 11 games at the J20 level as a 20-year-old, so in his final season of eligibility, and he put up a .924, including 3 shutouts in just 11 games. He's massive, but he plays with some smaller tools as well. He's a guy that can really be quite active and aggressive. He's not just going to sit back in his crease and try to let the puck hit him because he has a big frame. He really tries to challenge opponents as well. And I think that's an admirable quality in a netminder, but we're probably talking more about a backup projection than an overall starting goaltender. At number 12, we have Quinn Finley, who really broke out last season with a whole whackload of points with the University of Wisconsin, scoring 20 goals and 40 points in 37 games. His shot is a really good tool. He's able to beat goaltenders from range, get it off in a variety of different areas. Doesn't need to have it like right in his hip pocket either to get off a dangerous shot. He can do it while off balance on one foot. And I think that adaptability is super interesting, but the skating has to come up and match his overall shooting and playmaking dynamism, I think, for it all to come together cohesively as he rises up to professional hockey. But for the time being, he should be going back to the NCAA this season as well. And I think he might be one of the more dynamic offensive pieces in the entire college ranks. But if he does crack the NHL, you're probably looking at the end of the day, a third liner who can also chip in on a second power play with some depth scoring. That wraps up this second segment, though, and the final one will wrap things up with players that we ranked 13 through 19. But first, a quick message from our sponsors here at Locked On NHL Prospects. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or even on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is built for you. You can link all of your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel free and in control of your money without ever needing to touch a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at Monarch Money with code LOCKEDONNHL. All right, let's wrap up the show here in the final segment, breaking down the fantastic prospect pool of the New York Islanders. We're kicking things off with Calum Ritchie at number 13, a very mobile left shot defenseman that I remember loving in his draft-eligible campaign in the 2022, was it draft? 2022 NHL draft. And that skating ability remains his biggest strength. He came over for a full season in North America last year with Bridgeport, and he scored a goal and 13 points in the 62 AHL games. He's an incredible hard worker defensively. He keeps his gaps incredibly tight, feet constantly moving, and he just gets underneath his opponent's skin and remains glued to his checks. That combination of habitual maturity, physical strength, because this guy definitely has a lot of sturdiness to his game. He's definitely above average in terms of projection as a physical player on the blue line, and that high-end skating ability always made him a really interesting prospect in my own personal view, but it hasn't just fully come together just yet in a cohesive way. So the clock's ticking a little bit, but if he's able to really put those tools together, I still think that there's a really good like number 5 bottom pairing role for him in the NHL someday, and especially with the other players in the pool now with the New York Islanders, where you're talking about established veterans like your Adam Pelliks and Pullocks and Alexander Romanovs, or recent draft picks like Kashawn Aitcheson. You have a lot of players that are going down that left side of defense, so it leaves an opening on the third pairing for Calum Ritchie potentially to cement in the longer term, even though he lacks the on-puck skills of some of his counterparts. At number 14, we have Alex Jeffries, a 6-foot right shot left winger who playing also with the Bridgeport Islanders this previous season. He's also on the older end of this prospect pool, turning 24 years of age in November, but he's a fantastic skater, and that skating just opens up so many opportunities for him. He scored 13 goals and 29 points in the AHL last season through 59 games, but that explosiveness, agility, technical ability in terms of his feet is just the best throughout the entire AHL lineup already. And I think that if he's able to continuously work to leverage that to just be a suffocating forechecker, a great back checker, to take time and space away from opponents and really double down on the defensive side, because the offensive tools just aren't all that special with Jeffries. I think that if he becomes like a breakaway specialist, can be a PK guy, very disruptive, and then pounce on his opportunities when space opens up, that's where you might see him really create offensively as well. But that special skating ability might be enough to cement him an NHL spot in the near future. At number 15, we have Tomasz Politin, another left shot left winger, stands at 6'1", 205 pounds, and was just selected by the New York Islanders. He's a player that brings some really good physical tools. He's disruptive. He's difficult to play against. He's able to score in tight, close to the net, close to the crease. And overall, I think he's a guy that just checks a lot of the boxes that you search for in a bottom six contributor. He's very gritty. He doesn't have the most offensive skill, but as a shooter, especially around the net front, he can finish his chances, and being a specialist is all you really need to be as a bottom six checker in the NHL. So I think he has that diversity already in his game to potentially grow to that level, but we'll see how he progresses this season. At number 16, we have Sam Larilla, a player selected in the later rounds, an overager, a D+1 by the New York Islanders this year. And he had a great season in the USHL with the Fargo Force last campaign. Not the biggest guy in the world, 6'1", 192 pounds, but he's a really intelligent puck mover. He distributes with real cleverness and calculated kind of ideas of what he wants to create in transition. He's constantly looking for little give and goes and keeping his gaps with his teammates tighter to be able to work with them for quick little interchanges. And I think that kind of constructive team focus in his on-puck game is really something that will translate nicely, especially to the college ranks and then eventually to professional hockey as well. He's constantly activating in the offensive zone, trying to create little advantages here and there. And defensively as well, he's a guy that gets his stick involved constantly. He's very disruptive, but I think the skating might let him down a little bit. So improving the skating will be a key facet of his development, but he has a better chance than most fifth rounders, I'd say, of reaching the NHL in some capacity, even if the upside is a bit more limited. At number 17, we have Zach Schultz, another USA-based blue liner here playing with the University of Wisconsin. And he's a physically engaged, decent skater who makes his best plays really on the defensive side of the puck. He's able to get involved, get his stick in, and keep his gaps really tight. But on puck, there isn't much special, I would say, in terms of what he's able to do. Quick little passing plays you see from time to time, but overall they are breakdowns under pressure. He can struggle under really intense forechecking, and both the passing and the handling, I think, really do break down once his composure falters. So there's definitely still some building block areas here in his game, but he has the physical foundation and the mobility to eventually be a bottom pairing piece in the NHL. But whether or not that ends up being with the Islanders, we will end up seeing. At number 18, we have Gleb Veremiev, a 6'4" left shot center who played most of last season with Colorado College in the NCAA, scoring 17 points in 37 games before signing his ELC and going to Bridgeport, where he got a single assist in 10 games. Physicality is the name of the game with this player. He's a subpar skater. He has a subpar shot. He's not the most complex thinker on the ice, and his handling can really be broken down quite quickly when when defenders close their gaps on him. But it's that physical ability around the net front. As a true net front specialist, maybe he's able to make it, but he's going to have to diversify his game a little bit to make his value seen in more aspects than one on the ice. Last but not least, we have Matthew Maggio, who is a really interesting player with some decent skill. And I think that the goal scoring has some real upward mobility as well. And we saw last season with the Bridgeport Islanders that he scored 19 goals in 60 games. He was decent enough in that deployment, and he keeps the puck moving very quickly. He uses his teammates proactively. But there just isn't anything overly special, I would say, that elevates his game to an NHL caliber. I think that his lack of dynamic qualities really do hurt his overall upside, but he could end up being a fourth line winger at the end of the day. So I think at the bottom half of these rankings, you still do see some of the effects of this being a prospect pool that was ranked second to last, I believe, in the entire NHL by us at Elite Prospects a year ago, and is now second from top instead. The depth definitely needs a bit more work and bolstering over the coming seasons, but that top end skill with Matthew Schaefer, with Victor Eklund, with Calum Ritchie and Kashawn Aitcheson and Cole Eiserman, that top five is just lights out, and you can't really have any complaints with that group of players. So a lot to look forward to on Long Island, and I'm excited to see how this group of young players continues to mature over the course of the coming season. But that wraps things up here for our episode today. Especially if you are an Islanders fan, I would love to hear from you down below. Who did we have too high? Who did we have too low? Who did we maybe not include at all that deserve to be on this list? I would love to hear your thoughts down below, as well as what your rankings would have looked like. That's everything here from me today. I'm your host, Sebastian High, and I'll catch you tuning in again very, very soon.